Hello everyone, I'm Weston's Weatherwise, and I'm going to be bringing you our next video forecast. In today's video, we break down the upcoming severe weather potential along with the crazy weather that's going on. Yeah, we'll dive right into that right away, just starting here with a heat advisory. And a lot of people, heat advisory, normal summer advisory. Well, you look at this town name right here, city name, whatever you want to call it. You're like, Fairbanks? Where's that? Is that like in Texas or somewhere? No. You know this right. This is Fairbanks, Alaska. The first ever heat advisory to be issued in Alaska. So we could be seeing temperatures up to 90 degrees there in Alaska. So make sure you got that swimsuit ready if you're there in Alaska near Fairbanks. Go enjoy a nice swim. Moving on to the severe weather today, just because it's hot in Alaska doesn't mean there's not going to be severe weather anywhere else. We have two different slight risks today. One in Oklahoma and Kansas, another one extending from Montana back into portions of Kansas and Colorado. Damaging winds and large hail, but a brief tornado or two cannot be ruled out, as you can tell. And I do actually think higher probabilities won't be issued, but I do think across this area a higher chance for a tornado is going to be possible. But we do have another 2% tornado risk across our slight risk. So just make sure you stay weather aware. I do think the greatest tornado risk is coming out of Oklahoma and Kansas, but we got to keep an eye on it. We do have a 15% wind threat and a 15% hatched hail threat up here in portions of Wyoming, South Dakota, and Montana. Tomorrow we still have severe weather ongoing. You can tell another very large slight risk, and tomorrow's another day that I'm like, yeah, we may see another slight risk back in Oklahoma and Kansas. So damaging winds, large hail, and a tornado or two are going to be possible. You can tell that tornado risk is across pretty much that same area. That wind risk is actually hatched tomorrow. We do think tomorrow is going to be more of a linear setup across portions of Montana, South Dakota, so, and along with North Dakota. I'm not counting you out, North Dakota. So yeah. And then the hail risk we do think is going to be greatest here in portions of South Dakota, North Dakota, and Montana. And then moving on to the day 3 outlook, we yet again are watching a very large slight risk. And this is another day that I do think is going to be more linear storm mode. And I would not be surprised to see a slight risk across that area by day 1 outlook, and maybe even an enhanced risk across this area. So we're going to watch that closely, and severe weather does not stop there. Day 4 outlook, we do actually have a pretty large 15% risk, and I'm not going to rule this out being shifted more to the south and being across this area, because I do think a big line of storms is going to push through this area. So we're going to definitely keep an eye on that. And you can tell it does not stop there. Like I said before, on the 18th, this is the day 5 outlook. We do have another slight risk of severe weather. So make sure you're staying weather aware if you are in any of those areas. Moving on to the HRRR here in the Central Plains, I believe is where we need it. Yes, I'll just put this on the Southern Plains, but the Central Plains today, you can tell severe storms may already be starting to fire, but the main threat of severe weather is not going to come until a bit later today. And honestly, you can tell not much in the way happens, but if we move it up a bit to the northern Great Plains, we can tell we may actually see a few of those supercells up here in portions of Montana moving into North Dakota that are going to have the chance for a tornado or two to be possible. Moving here into the Southern Plains, we are watching because we did have convection this morning, but still going to keep an eye on that as we are actually going to see supercells overnight. These are going to start to develop, and these are going to bring that chance. Damaging winds, large hail, and like I said, that greatest tornado threat I do think is going to come out of that area, and just flooding rains there in Oklahoma. So make sure you're staying weather aware. This is the HRRR 18Z here in the Southern Great Plains. I had this pulled up to go through Sunday. Now, it doesn't quite go out far enough, I don't think. But as you can tell, it's going to stay pretty quiet in the Central Plains for Sunday. But I am going to watch this right here as it marches to the eastward. So we're going to keep an eye on that. I don't know what that noise is, if you guys can hear that, but we're going to figure that out shortly after the video. Moving on to the northern Great Plains, you can tell more severe weather is going to be possible. Now, tomorrow looks a bit more like it is going to be more of a guarantee for severe weather. If we go and head to the Central Plains, you can tell that looks like we're going to see higher probabilities of some storms firing, but we're going to keep an eye on it as tomorrow does look to be a bit more of a low-end day. Moving on to the GFS run right now. This is a look at what is happening up in the atmosphere. And as you can tell, we're getting a bunch of these like troughs that are bringing severe weather. But as we move ahead, it does look like our jet stream is going to be lifted pretty far to the north. And that means high pressure is dominating across this area. And that means storms are going to be more common in the northern plains and less common across the southern plains, central and southern plains into Dixie Alley. But then our next system looks to come around the 21st. And if this is to eject off the Rockies, I do think a substantial severe threat is going to be in place across portions of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas. But we're going to have to watch it. And I do actually think towards the end and latter half of June, our jet stream is going to begin to shift more to the south. And we're going to actually get more severe weather in the southern plains. And here's what that looks like on radar, as you can tell. If I go ahead and back it up to play it through, we can see that here towards the middle and end of June, it does look like we're going to get a few more severe weather events there in the plains. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it. Make sure to stay weather aware, though, if you're in any of these areas, as severe weather definitely looks to be making a return. And this is what the Euro shows. It's kind of showing that same thing. Now, we can't go as far out as the GFS here, but jet stream is lifted very far to the north. High pressure is dominating across the plains, so just make sure you're staying weather aware in these areas, and we are going to try and resume our daily video updates, so make sure you drop a like and subscribe, as we are actually closing in on 700 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for that. But as you can tell here, it's kind of picking up on that same thing towards the middle and latter half of June. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you are new here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.